Hello everybody and welcome to this discussion about audio description. This discussion will be in English and I've heard that there will be possibilities for Swedish translations. If needed, you will get some earphones and then you will hear the Swedish translation. But I and my guest will speak in English. All right. Yep. So I will start with letting my guests introduce themselves, sorry. So I start with the lady on the left side of me.
Mm-hmm. Do I need a microphone?
Yeah, you do.
Perhaps this one.
Like this? Yes. Yes, my name is Vivian Emanuelsson and I am working at the Swedish Association of Visually Impaired People. I work as a policy officer, I think it's called, and I am blind myself. So that's it.
All right. Hello, my name is Daniel Goransson and I'm a stand-in here. Welcome, Joel. I'm a stand-in for Josephine and I represent the Association for Visually Impaired Youth. And I guess I just fill in the blanks here for Vivian and so on. I'm not totally up to date, but I guess I do my best.
Hello, good morning. My name is Pilar Orero. I work in the Universitat Autónoma de Barcelona, and I will try to tell you what's happening in Spain and also in Europe.
I'm Tani Rantalainen. I'm from Cultural Services for Visually Impaired Finland. And I'm here to tell about Finland's situation.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's a very good morning. It's a very early morning here in the United States. I'm Joel Snyder. I'm in Washington, D.C., actually in just across the line in the state of Maryland, in Tacoma Park, Maryland. And I've been working with audio description since its inception as a ongoing service for performing arts back then. This was in 1981 when description was developed as an ongoing service here in the DC area, and since then, of course, has expanded to include video and film and museum exhibitions and all manner of events where the visual image is critical. So I've known Peter for quite some time and was honored to have him as a guest via Skype at a conference that I sponsored here in the United States. I have my own company, Audio Description Associates, and I also direct the Audio Description Project for the American Council of the Blind, and every so often we have conferences here. Peter was a part of that, and so I'm quite pleased to join you, pay the favor back, and be with you today.
Thank you so much. And now we will continue with discussing or describing what if I'm a blind or visually impaired person and I want to have something audio described. I want to go to the movies, I want to watch TV, I want to go to a museum, whatever. Is it possible for me today? What does it look like in my country today? So we can start with Finland, please.
Okay, so if you are a visually impaired person in Finland and you would like to go to audio described movies or theater, it's normally that the association is going to organize the trip there. It's a bunch of visually impaired people and they go to theaters or movies or museums. But we are trying to train the staff of the art institutions to do the audio descriptions themselves. And in Finland we don't have an association like Syntolkning. My association, Cultural Services for Visually Impaired People, it's our job to take care of whole Finland, and we are very small and we are doing lots of other things too. So I think that's why the things are moving so slowly in Finland. And we would need Audio Describers Association, or we would need a project worker who would take care of these things. And we would need projects, financing for projects. And we have tried to get audio described DVDs with project financing, but we haven't got it yet. But that thing that is good in Finland, or there is a nice start, is the audio description in television, because we had the law. It was 2012. Then we got the law which says that it belongs to the public broadcasting company Yle, that they have to provide audio description in television. But they provide it only once a year. So that's too little, but there is a possibility, and we are also talking with commercial channels to get audio description in their program as well.
Do you get the audio description in Finnish or in Swedish?
In Finnish.
Only in Finnish?
Only in Finnish. There is very active Swedish organization, but it's a pity, and I'm ashamed to say that we don't cooperate with them very much. I think they cooperate with you in Sweden. I don't know. Yeah. Okay.
In Finland we have two languages, Swedish and Finnish.
Yes.
Mostly people speak Finnish.
Yes.
So, are you finished, Tanya? Or?
Well, for now, I will continue later on.
Thank you. And what is like in United States?
Okay, we'll jump across the pond, as it were. Well, as I mentioned briefly in my introduction, audio description is in some ways the home for audio description. It was in the mid-late 70s when the concept was being developed, fleshed out, in particular in a master's thesis in California, at San Francisco State University, by a gentleman named Gregory Fraser. And the late Mr. Fraser, he was the first really to write out some of the concepts behind the art and the act of audio description. And then in '81, simultaneously, but separately, in the Washington, D.C. area, an actual audio description service was conceived with Arena Stage, a performing arts center, a theater producing group here in the Washington, D.C. area. And I was pleased to be a part of that, just 4 or 5 of us. We were part of a radio reading service that already existed, a radio station essentially that reads newspapers, books, magazines over an FM frequency for access by people who are blind. Radio reading services are frequent around the world, although they're perhaps getting a little less so. They're being replaced by digital services that are automated and such. But that's how it began in the United States. In the mid-'80s, we developed a pilot for description, as my colleague from Finland mentioned, for public broadcasting. That was in '85 when I was part of that pilot, and came up with, probably about a dozen programs that were written and voiced in English. Those were the first pieces of media that were described for television. And public broadcasting here in the United States, which is simply one channel, one network, I should say, many different stations around the country that embraced audio description. There's still probably less than 5% of their programs that have description, and yet they do more than anyone else, partly because there's been funding from the Department of Education, our federal Department of Education, for describing educational programs on television. It wasn't until, the year 2000 when a rule was established by our Federal Communications Commission that said, well, all broadcasters, or at least a certain set number of them, really should be providing description. The visual elements of television should be accessible to people who are blind, just as sounds, words, spoken word has been accessible via captions for about 30 years now. It started out at a very low percentage, but now 100% of television in the United States is captioned, is accessible to people who are deaf or have hard of hearing. And of course, we found very quickly here in the U.S., people that see captions on television, the general public uses them at bars, they use them at gyms, and they have to be reminded, Those are there for people who are deaf, actually. It's like curb cuts in the street there. People think they're there for bicyclists or joggers. They're put there for folks who are using wheelchairs, actually. Well, in the year 2000, we had that rule established by our Federal Communications Commission, which simply mandated that a certain number of programmers in a certain number of cities must provide description for what amounted to 4 hours per week. Tiny percentage of what's actually broadcast. That rule was struck down about a year later on legal technicalities, and it took 10 years before the rule was reinstituted because we passed a law. It became a law through our Senate, through our House of Representatives, signed by President Obama just about 2 years ago, the 21st Century Video and Communications Accessibility Act. And that put into law those very same rules that the top 9 broadcasters, that includes cable broadcasters, in the top 25 cities or markets must provide 4 hours per week of description. That's where we are now. There's very little funding available now. We're right in the final years of that funding for educational programming. So this is all provided commercially out of the budgets of the broadcasters. Simultaneously, film description has developed to the point now where there's probably about 300 to 400 screens around the country that are equipped to provide audio description. It's still a very small minority percentage of films that are produced with the audio description track. The same goes for DVDs. And indeed, with respect to media, I must say the United Kingdom, which came to description after us, they're way ahead of us. They now have about 20% of television broadcasts are equipped with audio description. They have many more DVDs with description, many more screens. And it's a shame in that, it's not a shame at all, it's wonderful, but the irony, of course, is that UK has about 1/6 the population of the United States, but they have 6 to 10 times more description. Just has to do with the nature of the society, I think, and the demand for the description from the Royal National Institute of Blind People. I think that's been a significant part of the activity in the UK. Finally, it all began in performing arts. We have description for performing arts and museums, probably in about 30 of our 50 states now. I've introduced description in 36 states, I guess, and the District of Columbia, and in many nations around the world, of course. But introducing it is one thing, as our colleague from Finland said, getting it established and getting a program started is quite something else. It takes a bit of funding. So when I say it's in some 30 states around the United States, that means maybe 1 or 2 theaters have an ongoing program. There's still quite a bit to do, especially museums. Museums have come a little bit later to the game and are beginning to realize that they need to be accessible, just as their media and performing arts counterparts need to be accessible as well.
Thank you so much. Now we will go to Spain. And if you have experiences from other countries in Europe,
Okay.
except from Sweden, please tell us.
Spain is a bit of a strange country because it's got the biggest and the richest blind association in the world. And that, you would think this is the land of milk and honey. Yes, it is and it isn't, like everything else in life. It is because this blind association called the ONCE, the 11, the ONCE is yes, very rich, but they do everything separate from society. They have their own fantastic buildings with swimming pools, theaters, cinemas. But yes, it's very good, but the problem is the blind are not integrated in everyday life in society. Then there is smaller associations like the Catalan Association for the Blind and the Low Vision. And the low vision is important because the ONCE, the Blind Association, do not accept low vision people. This is quite interesting. So you have that the blind are only in one side and the low vision, they have to find another association to have them or to work with them because they're not accepted in this very rich association. So yes, you have the ONCE on the one hand, that I don't work with them because they are self-sufficient. They don't communicate with anybody. They have their own audio describers, their own cinema. They make their own audio descriptions that they distribute with their own affiliates. And this is one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is that there is a smaller blind associations, which I think is probably more like the Finnish or the Swedish. And I live in this part of Spain, it's called Catalonia in Barcelona, where we have our own language, different language. There is about 7 million people living there. So I think to compare Catalonia to any of these Nordic countries is quite adequate for the number of people as well. In Catalonia we have, yes, the big association, ONCE, but we have another 2 smaller blind associations for the blind and the low vision, okay? In Catalonia we have 2 theatres that they do audio description once a month, for sure, and often every Wednesday, okay? And the audio description is in Catalan. And you can also have it in Spanish if you want to, but you have to have a special mobile phone where you download the Spanish audio description. Cinemas, no, we don't have any cinema with audio description. This is from time to time the blind associations, they organize, not the ONCE, the others, they organize a day at the cinema, but this is just like once or twice a year. It happens in the mornings, so the audio description is done open. So it is, everybody can hear it, and it's done in real life. So it happens as the film is happening. So really it's like a radio telling the description of the film. DVDs, the ONCE, as Joel said about the UK, ONCE has hundreds of DVDs audio described, but we cannot access them because it's only for the people that they belong to them. And we have about 20 DVDs audio described, commercially audio described, and there is more and more happening every day. So this is good because there is a company that is now getting money to make blocks of 10 DVDs at the time. So this is going to happen more and more often. So we have that. Yes, in Barcelona we do have the opera, and the opera is audio described, and it's been audio described for the last 10 years. First, it started in a very nice way. The ONCE wanted to have opera audio described, so they went to the opera theatre and they said, we want it done. And the opera said, okay, will you do it? Fantastic. But they only could go their affiliates to the opera. It was the only people that they could listen to the audio description were the people belonging to ONCE. So then this other Catalan association heard about this. So they went to the opera house and they said, hey, they are having it, we want to have it. So they said, okay, have it. So the most incredible thing is that 2 people were doing 2 completely different audio descriptions for the same opera, and 2 different groups of blind people were going to 2 different sessions. Yes, and this happened for 2 years. After 2 years, everybody realized that this was a bit stupid because we were only doing 6 operas, when in fact a whole season is like 13 operas. We could do 13 operas if each association did 1 of them. Okay, so we tried to put, and I was there, we tried to put the 2 associations to sit together and speak to each other. Of course, they never came to sit together. So we would have a meeting one day, one association would come and the other one didn't. We have another meeting again, the other one would come, but not the other one. So at the end, neither one nor the other. At the end, the university, my team got there to do the audio descriptions, okay? And everybody is now invited and is open. So neither one association nor the other association has the opera. The university does the opera, and the dates are advertised before the dates were not advertised because they were a private, like a private gathering. Okay, so if you were a blind from Madrid and you wanted to come to Barcelona, you could not go to the opera, or you could go, but you couldn't have the other descriptions because you didn't belong to neither one nor the other association. So it's really ridiculous. So now the accessibility is on the web. you know the dates that we have an audio description, and then everybody can come and listen to it. Okay. This year there is a threaten that is probably the first time that the opera will not have audio description. They call me this week on Monday to say this, and I'm trying to speak to Coca-Cola and see if Coca-Cola would be interested in saying, okay, the audio description is offered by Coca-Cola. I don't care, as long as, you know, it could be whatever, as long as we continue doing audio description. What I am saying to them is that once you start offering a service, and you've offered this service for 10 years, it's crazy to go back to not offering the service. So I am trying that. The thing is that numbers don't add up. They don't sell more tickets because the opera is audio described. So this is a reality. So again, you don't have to say that audio description is a special service. You have to say that audio description is a service, as the subtitle is a service, like the web page is a service, and the toilets are a service. And there is no point in closing down the toilets, because, you know, Coca-Cola is not going to open the toilets for you. Well, it's the same with audio description. You don't have to, it has to be there, okay? And to me, this is the message, that it's not an extra service, it is a service for everybody, and it has to be there. But it's taking me a lot of effort and time. On television, yes, there was a law passed in 2009, 10%, like Joel was saying about the UK. Spain is following the UK. 10%, it has to be done until 2015. In 2015, the law will be revised again, and I presume and I hope that the associations will lobby, and they would ask for 20%. Okay. What is happening in the UK now that they have the 20%? It's very interesting. Now they got 20%. What they're lobbying for is quality. Okay, so we now have to measure what is quality, which is very, very interesting, because it's like the sex in the angels. You know, what sex do they have, angels? Well, I don't know, but it's a bit like that. But anyway. And I've spoken enough. I give you the microphone to Daniel.
Thank you so much. Now we turn to Sweden.
Perhaps, Vivian. Sorry.
Oops, wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, there you go.
So, in Sweden, we have had, in some way, audio description, I think, for the last 20 years or something like that. But since around 2000, it became more common in different parts of Sweden, because from around the 2000, the Swedish Film Institute had some money you could ask for to sponsor
The movies or
Nej,
the audio description?
the audio describer. Yes. And nej, du får prata engelska, jag pratar jag svenska.
Yeah, sure, but I'm not totally up to date. So if you just speak on, I can probably translate, I guess.
Ja, precis. Ja, i alla fall ungefär 2000 så hade Svenska Filminstitutet en särskild pott pengar som man kunde söka för att kunna betala för syntolkning.
Yeah, so in the 2000, the Swedish Film Institute had a pot that you could, I guess you could say that, yeah, as you said, you can ask for money to have an audio describer. And what else?
Men och för de pengarna kunde, då var det i huvudsakligen Synskadades riksförbund och distriktsorganisationer som sökte pengar och sökte både för utbildning av syntolkar och för själva syntolkning av film.
Okay, so it was mostly the what's it called? SRF?
Swedish Association for the Blind and Visually Impaired.
Yeah.
Yes, Oh.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm not
Yes.
so up to date.
Our regional organizations that got this money for educating audio describers and also to pay when they were working. Excuse my bad English. So nowadays, I should say that this organization, vad heter syntolkning.nu in English?
Audio Describers
Audio
Association.
Description now has done a very good job to make it possible for visually impaired people to go to cinema wherever we live, because from the start there were also you could only get this audio described go to this audio described films if you lived in Stockholm, Gothenburg or Malmö or so on, but now you can there is audio described films in many parts of the country, and on television in 2004 they started. I should say in Sweden we don't only want audio description. We also need when it's a program in other countries. We also need audio subtitling. So in 2004, the public service television started to send or stream out synthesized audio subtitling. But at that time, you need to have two set-top box, and it was quite difficult to manage with the technique. So it was very few visually impaired people who really used this. And we have complained a lot to the public service and told them that this is not a good way. It's really a bad way to make a thing accessible. It is in a way accessible but not usable.
Yeah.
Yes, but now there are projects ongoing to see if you can get access to television program, both audio description and audio subtitling with using connections with smartphones and the television programs. Theaters, some theaters is audio described, and it's the same as as you mentioned in your other countries. There is special performance, and you gather a group. So you cannot choose which play you want. It's just some of them. I don't know how many, because it's different from part to part in Sweden. And there are also opera performance audio described. And very often when it's opera or theater, the audio describer produce a CD which you get in before, so you can be aware of the scenery and clothing and lots of things which can be difficult to give information during the play. And also museum. Some museums have got a CD or something else, which where we have recorded audio description about the things, and you also there's the history about it. You can listen to this CD, and then when you go to a museum, you can either borrow the equipment from the museum, or if you have your own record player, or what is called the equipment to play it on. We in Sweden there are also audio described sports. I don't know so much about it, but lots of blind people are very interested in it. I know, and I know that Peter has done a lot of this too. So, shall you?
Yeah, I can speak a few words. Yes, Sweden, I think we're one of the leading countries in live audio description performance, I guess, but we're not that far in like pre-recorded stuff like DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff like that, and also in cinemas we're far behind other countries, I guess.
I think we have 30 CDs.
30 DVDs.
Yes.
We have 2 in Finland. So.
And 2 in Finland. Yeah, so yeah, maybe we're ahead. So, but compared to like the UK or I guess US as well, we're far behind. And then it's been an uphill battle, you can tell, right, from Peter's gray hair. So, I mean, we've been trying to get everything, or like arenas don't really like, or I don't know, maybe they're just like unaware of what audio describer are, because they think we're like sign language people are like trying to understand what they're I don't know what they think actually. And they also they usually have like bad excuses, like safety reasons why we can't have like the first seats that we want, and they think they have to do some really expensive stuff to allow blind people there, because they do crazy stuff, those blind people. Yeah, but we do have Blu-rays with audio description from the UK, I noticed, because I'm like a film buff and I see a lot of movies. But I don't know why not like every movie are audio described. Maybe that's like a legal issue or something. Because maybe I can ask you, Joel, because do you get the UK the description or the narrator, I guess, in the US Blu-rays and DVDs, or how does that work, really? So
yeah, in the UK has, for whatever reasons, the DVD producers have found it easier or more advantageous or more profitable to add description to the DVDs as they're presented in the UK. Perhaps it's because, again, generally speaking, the society expects more description. There's a higher percentage of description on television. But it's as if they were really two separate companies, even though they're on the umbrella of, say, Universal or Viacom or Sony. It's Sony UK, Sony America. It's almost like they're separate entities. And the quick answer to your question is no, we don't really have access to DVDs from UK, partly because it's a different operating system. I mean, that has a lot to do with it, obviously. DVDs, as you know, of course, are different formats for different countries. It's just as the old PAL versus NTSC tape formats. So that's part of the issue. Now, we produce DVDs with American English description, if you will. An interesting story on that was that 2 years ago, I think it was, at the American Council of the Blind, their national convention, we tried to show a film with audio description, and the film everybody wanted was whatever it was that won the Academy Award for Best Film that year. It hadn't been described for the American DVD, but the British DVD had it described, and I simply ordered it from Amazon.com UK, got it over here, was able to transport the format to an American format so it could be played on a American format DVD player, and we used that. And so everybody got used to a British sound and vernacular, and it was fine. But typically, UK description is separate from American description.
Yeah, but I guess it could be cheaper to just. It should be cheaper to get the track instead of a new narrator, I guess. But
of course,
yeah,
of course, there would be differences in the writing,
yeah,
probably as well as the voicing.
Yeah, probably.
Who is paying for the audio description in your country?
Well, in the U.S., just quickly, it is the responsibility of the content owner. The film producer is typically the entity that pays for the description. You're talking about a tiny percentage compared to the cost of producing a film, which could be dozens of millions of dollars, whereas description for a film might cost $5,000–7,000. In small, very few instances so far, surprisingly enough, in a commercially oriented society like the United States, there isn't that much sponsored description. There's a great deal of sponsored captioning. So you'll hear on television, captioning brought to you by so-and-so. You don't get that with description, at least not yet.
What's it like in Finland?
Who is paying for audio description? It's the Ministry of Culture and Education, which is giving us the money and also our projects of audio description. And I forgot to tell you that audio subtitling is in Finland in every program, and that's why the audio description they have a little bit forgotten about it. It's not so cheap, and because they have audio subtitling, they say that's enough. But we got the digital television in 2001, and that's why it has gone further, that television thing in Finland.
In Spain, money comes from exactly the same as in Finland, from the Ministry of Culture and Education, and it goes to associations. This is why there is a big fight between associations, and why you would see that sometimes the same DVD is done 3 times. Because each association gets money to do. So to me this is crazy, because it's not just duplication, it's triplication of efforts. But of course they feel that if they get together they would lose money. Yeah? And also audio describers feel that if they get together they would get less work, which is not true. They would do different things and we could share. But it's at the moment, because everything is beginning, everybody's very worried. And everybody is thinking that, okay, if I don't do that, I would lose the job, or I won't. So we are, I think, in a bit vulnerable in that way, that it is the beginning, it's not commercially established. Prices vary enormously as well. But I think it should be, commercial DVDs are done by the producers. And as Joel was saying, the amount of money that you need to produce an AD compared to the money that they spend in the posters advertising in the streets is nothing. So again, I think we should keep on fighting and lobbying. I think why they're so important in the UK is because it was this, again, I talked yesterday about Joan Greening, Joel. Joan Greening to me was the reason why UK now is so successful with audio description, and why now that Joan Greening is not there, audio description is going down. She's just retired. She was a fantastical woman. She was a terrorist, and she managed to get distributors, produce everybody to do audio description. So I think a good lobby is what makes it go.
And in Sweden?
In Sweden, there are also money from the state, and it's dealt with from the Swedish Film Institute when it is about films, both DVD and vad heter det? På plats? Nej, vad heter det?
Live?
Live audio description. Yes. And I think one thing, I don't know, but I think there is one problem with producing DVD, because earlier it was the audio description companies who applied for those money to produce this audio description. But nowadays it's the film producer, and I don't think they are lika. Va? Nej, inte det. Alltså, de är lika angelägna.
Just as.
Va?
Just as.
Just as. Men nej, du får säga det.
I'm not sure what you're trying to say.
Jo, jag tror inte att filmproducenterna är lika angelägna eller förstår lika väl vikten av syntolkning.
As understanding. Or I'm not sure.
Yeah, yes. I don't think the film producer really understands the value of audio description. So that's why they are not so interested in applying for this money. And there is also another thing. I don't know how true it is, but sometimes those who filmproducenter, de som skapar filmerna, vad heter de? Va?
Directors, actors.
No,
Directors.
Yes, in a way, those who make the films, who is this som skapar dem, som va? The creator. Thank you. I learn a lot now here. But some of the creator isn't so very interested to get their films audio described, because they are afraid that when you audio describe it, you sometimes not give the right characteristics or something like that. I don't know if you have heard about this, but there is some who is really afraid of get their films audio described.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nu får någon annan prata.
Have you this? Do anybody else have the same problem with the producers?
Yes.
Do you have any piece of advice to each other how you can lobby?
No, I just wanted to tell you that 2 years ago we were here and we met Vivian and Peter and Lotta. And we heard about this film institute thing in Sweden, and we got very enthusiastic and tried to do the same in Finland, and we welcomed the persons from this film foundation of Finland, and we demonstrated what is audio description, and we were very happy to have them, but nothing have happened. So we have to lobby better, I guess. And I guess was it so that in Sweden it was through political? Now I'm lost in the words. But what's the like you were influencing the politicians to get the yes. And I guess that might be the next step in Finland.
In Spain and everywhere in Europe, we have films paid by or partially funded by the media program. Yesterday, the film we saw, Filomena, was also partially funded by Media Europe. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that I have tried to do is to go to Europe and say, okay, you are funding movies, okay, but the movies are not for all. So like you are funding movies and they have to have subtitles. You should only fund movies that they have subtitles and audio description, okay?
Audio subtitle.
An audio subtitle, in fact, everything. So, of course, I got nowhere. Then I decided that to go lower down. So I went to Catalan Film Institute, because also they pay for money, some funds for the film directors to do movies in Catalan. So I said exactly the same. Okay, when you give some funds, make sure that part of the fund goes for the accessibility. Okay?
Yes.
They said that it was a fantastic idea, wonderful. and they haven't done anything. So, but yes, I think what Tanya is saying is that we have to lobby. One thing that we did and it worked, it was very nasty, is that we invited politicians to the university because they're coming to the university. They're so important, yes. My university is a very well-known university. So we invited them to my university to tell us about creativity in the film industry, And then when we got them there, we said, now, are you going to pay for accessibility in the movies? And the guy was didn't expect this question, right? And that was the best thing. Because they said, well, and in the politician way, I said, no. When are you going to fund money? And are you going to, yes, we eventually managed for them to, and it's true, but they haven't done anything. But it's true. There is, in the next law that came up, it says that there are special helps for accessibility in movies. So at least you can apply for the money, but it is not an obligation. They don't want to make it an obligation, yeah? Because they feel that they would lose, I don't know what. Yeah?
The same as Sweden.
Okay, so it's a universal.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess it's the same in Sweden.
Yes.
But we are also trying to get this like this law that you get in the US to pass through now, so we can class inaccessible things as discrimination, I guess. But
you must have it.
no, we don't have that yet. So
This is very strange because
yeah.
everywhere in Europe, have this accessibility law everywhere.
No, but you are not...
You're not in Europe?
No, men du förstår att det finns en diskrimineringslag, men det finns inte någonting som säger att det måste vara tillgängligt.
yeah, okay. So there's a anti-discrimination law, but there's nothing that says that it has to be accessible, I guess. So that accessibility doesn't count as discrimination or inaccessible.
But even Croatia has this law.
Yeah, I guess. Tell that to our politicians, I guess.
It's very strange because when Peter invited me, I was so happy because coming from near Africa, I thought, oh, fantastic, I'm going to the north of Europe where it's civilized and I'm going to learn so much and they're so wonderful, you know. Everything that is wrong in my country, we say, of course, in Sweden, and we always say Sweden. In Sweden, they don't do this. And now I come to Sweden. You are also near Africa.
Yeah, sure.
Well, same about the
Feels
weather.
like Africa sometimes, I guess.
But this is a strange that you have the law.
And we've been trying for this in 10 years, I guess.
Do you have the law?
So
We have it in the radio and television law.
Yeah.
This accessibility.
You do? Yeah.
Yes. And the museums, actually in Finland, the museums are the best about audio description. They have trained and provided from 20 years or something. Yeah.
One question. When did Sweden go digital?
when will we go digital?
No.
In 2006, we started to shut down
The analog.
yeah.
Yes.
And it's gone since 2006. You've gone digital.
Före det.
No, 2006 we started to shut down
Some areas.
yeah, and it was finally shut up in I think it was 2008. Something. And since
the whole.
then the television's all been digital.
Yeah.
And you don't have a new digital act and accessibility?
No.
We don't even have an accessibility act saying that physical things must be accessible,
Really?
like
No.
the American
Not yet.
Disability Act and stuff like that.
Yeah, really.
Wow.
Well,
This is incredible.
Yeah, I know, right?
I can't believe this.
So we try like everything. We try to walk up and down the streets and have a guy like dressed up like Superman called Accessibility Man, but they don't see us. I don't know. Maybe it's invisible. I don't know.
Yeah. From the U.S., let me just throw in a bit of perspective. Yes, it's indeed, it's the Americans with Disabilities Act that is 30 years old now.
Yeah.
And it is that act that has made it possible for people who use wheelchairs to access public facilities. Courthouses even were constructed with dozens of steps, and there was no way to get into the building if you used a wheelchair. That's illegal now in the United States. It oftentimes starts with physical mobility. I'm a little surprised as well, Pilar, because I knew that in most countries in Europe there was such an act. In fact, Pilar, when I was recently in Barcelona, Dr. Lima, Francisco Lima, is a blind professor from Brazil. He and I went to a restaurant right on Las Ramblas, and they refused us entry because he had a guide dog. And I spoke up and said, no, you have to. It's the law. Not really being certain it was the law in Spain,
It is the
but
law.
I was pretty sure. And they said, well, you have to leave or we'll call the police. I said, no, we're going to sit down and we'll call the police. And the police came, and the police ordered the restaurant to let us stay. And because it is the law, they can't discriminate against someone with a service animal. Of course, we didn't stay because why would we stay where we aren't wanted anyway? So that was an interesting little experience. With respect to filmmakers and their hesitancy about description, that's a very interesting point. You know, among us, we know what description is. We're in favor of description. We know its power. So we talk about it as an art form, as a creative art form, as something you can experiment with and play with. When we talk about description to filmmakers and in courts, we don't talk that way. We talk about translation. We talk about it is simply making it accessible. We don't change anything. We don't do anything to the content. We are simply doing like what a captioner does or a subtitler does, straight translation. Because even when the rule was established in 2000, it was struck down, one of the points that the opposition brought up was that it would violate the First Amendment rights of the film creators. First Amendment has to do with freedom of speech. Well, they were saying, you're requiring us to make speech. You're requiring us to say something that we don't want to say, which is absurd. It's kind of silly. It's just a translation, and it can be done imaginatively and creatively, but at base it's a translation. And ultimately, I think what's going to happen in the United States within the next few years is that under our Americans with Disabilities Act, our Justice Department is going to our Justice Department is going to begin suing not the filmmakers, the movie theaters under the Americans with Disabilities Act, saying, you know, you have to have a ramp for someone who uses a wheelchair. Well, the film you're showing has to have description, so it's accessible to people who are blind, and it has to have captions, so it's accessible to somebody who's deaf. Now, the movie theater owner is not going to go and commission description for every film being shown. So it goes back then to the film creators, who then have to do description, ultimately, because otherwise the theater owners won't be able to operate unless the description is there, unless the captions are there, because they'll continue to get these lawsuits. I think that's what's going to be happening in the United States.
Yeah, and when we get that law in Sweden, we can start doing it the same way, I guess. So
That's right.